Are you interested in moving overseas and you're thinking of going by way of education? You want to study abroad? Is the UK your preferred destination? Well, if it is, then you were in the right place. In this episode, I'm going to be telling you guys everything you need to know about traveling overseas to study for a PhD. And we're going to be talking squarely about the United Kingdom. So if you're looking to travel to study in either England, Scotland, Northern Ireland, or Wales to bag your PhD, this is the right place for this information. So what do you do now? I suggest you get a pen, get a pad. Give me just 1 second. I'm going to dash up to the market and you guys already know what comes next. Let's get it.
You know the way I do it when I drop lyrical. Anytime I spit lyrical, philosophical. All the niggas mimical, but they stare still on taking literal. Punchlines collateral. Maximum damage.
Hello, Chronicles. Hello, YouTube. How you all doing today? It's still your value-based King Fuse out with another value-packed video. Now, I was just thinking yesterday, and it just occurred to me that I've had series of content on how to go overseas to different countries. And even if you watch our early episodes when we first started this channel, you're going to see a lot of content about going overseas to study, but I've never made a content about going overseas to get a PhD, that is a doctorate degree done. Now, that's what we're going to be talking about in this video. We're going to be using the UK as a case study country. So guys, you want to go overseas to study, you want to get a PhD done in England. What do you need? The first thing you need to ask yourself is very simple. What is my budget? Do I have money for this? Because master's, undergrad, PhD, whatever you want to do, you name it, in the UK is very, very expensive. I kid you not, I'm not even going to try to shoot hot air through, you know what? It's very, very expensive. So you need to ask yourself these questions. How much do I have at my disposal? Who is sponsoring this? If you're from Nigeria, are you going by way of the NEDC scholarship? Are you going on Shell scholarship? Who is going to pay? Who is going to pay for your education if you do decide to go for a PhD? Are you going to be sponsored by your parents? Are you going to be sponsored by yourself? PhDs in the UK could rise to as high as 25 to even 30,000 pounds per year. And you normally pay your tuition fee per year. And the PhD in England or in the UK is usually 4 years. And if you're going to do part-time, which is not really open to international students, unless you start the program, then you could switch to part-time. It could rise to as high as 6 years. And when you're done with your PhD, you could go on to even get a post-work visa where you get extra 3 years. For PhD is 3 years, master's is 2, but for PhD is 3 years. So you could actually end up staying in the UK for as much as 7 years. But you need to address the issue of money. Now, which location do you want to study in? Do you want to stay in a landlocked area like maybe you want to stay in Northampton where there are no rivers or nothing like that, or you want to stay in a coastal cities, riverine areas such as Bournemouth, such as Portsmouth, such as Newcastle? You need to decide. Now, I'll tell you why you need to think about this. Many people say, but Fuse, what are you talking about? It's all the same. No, it's not the same. If you stay in a riverine coastal city to do in a school or go to a school that is located in a riverine or coastal city, things there are going to be cheaper because those places have seaports. Now, things coming through the seaports, like saying you stay in Lagos and the prices in Lagos is, I don't know, more expensive than Abuja. That's not possible. Things are cheaper in Lagos because it has a seaport. Things are cheaper in Calabar because it's a seaport. Things are cheaper in areas where there is an access to the ocean, is a seaport where goods could come into that city. So if you're going to school in a university that is located in a riverine area or in a coastal city, it's always going to be cheaper for you. You need to bear this in mind. So when you figured out who's paying, how you're gonna get your funds, whether you're gonna be sponsored or you're gonna save money, and you decided this is where I wanna stay in a place that's riverine or not, I want to stay in London because it's a cosmopolitan city, but it's expensive. You've decided on this stuff. You've already figured it out. Perfect. I'm happy for you. The next thing you need to do is to go to the school's website and fill an application form. Now, there are different schools with different criteria. There's schools that require you to first apply to a supervisor and get your supervisor. Now, this is very popular in the US and in Canada, but also in the UK, this happens as well. They might require you to go and get sponsors that have agreed or will agree to sponsor and supervise your research project. Now, my suggestion to you guys is this: apply to as many people as possible. Apply to as many people as possible. You want all of them emailing you back telling you that, listen, we're interested in sponsoring your research project. Now, for the UK, you could actually have a lead supervisor and a second supervisor. So there's a possibility for you to have two supervisors, a lead and a backup. So it's acceptable. This happens a lot in the UK. Now, when you've got in a statement of interest from a supervisor, usually you're going to get them tweaking your research project. They're going to tell you that this is wrong or this is not satisfactory, add more references here, do this there. They're going to help you pad this stuff up and make it really, really good. When you're done, you've gotten confirmation from your lead and your backup supervisor, you've finished writing your proposal. Now, I'm not going to talk too much about your research proposal because that is content, that is a topic for a whole different video. A lot will need to go into your research project. A lot of work will have to go in there. If you guys want me to make a separate video about how to write a PhD research project, and yes, I have written a couple, okay? So if you want to know more about how to do it, why don't you leave it down in the comment section. I'm going to make a separate video for that content, okay? But let me just summarize it. Your research proposal is supposed to have your literature review, telling the supervisors or the board of supervisors that this is the body of work that has been done in this field. Don't make it too broad, okay? If you want to make case studies of different countries where this has worked, then you might need to involve maybe 2 or 3 countries where whatever principle, whatever topic you're exploring, where this has been applied and successfully executed, you might want to make references to 2 to 3 companies or 2 to 3 countries. Then you're going to come down and you're going to talk about the framework in the country where you are going to be basing your research on. If it's something that has to do with the Nigerian economy, then you have to add that in the later part of your literature review. If it's something that has to do with the UK, then you might need to involve that in the later part of your literature review. Then you need to talk about how this work is going to impact whatever country or economy that it's referring or is going to be based on, and how it's going to be impactful in the literary sense of it, how this work is going to change the dynamics of academics, the research field, and stuff like this. There's so much stuff that goes into it. You need to talk about your methodology. You need to talk about how you're going to carry your research work. Is it going to be qualitative or quantitative? There's just so much stuff you need to talk about there. Then you have to prepare your personal statement. Your personal statement tells them what you were thinking when you stumbled on this topic. It highlights your history in the field. Are you experienced enough in this field and you want to further research into it at a PhD level? So if you guys want me to make more video or content on the personal statement on research proposal, like I said, leave it down in the introduction. I'm going to do that for you guys. Then you need to prepare a comprehensive CV, what you've been doing, your work history. You should contain your academic background and you should have at least 3 references at the bottom. You're going to band this all together and you're going to upload it on the school website. And that's not all. You need to get your certificate for your bachelor's, your transcript for your bachelor's, your certificate for your master's, your transcript for your master's, and you're going to have to upload all this stuff into the university student portal along with your application form. Then you need to get 2 academic references and 1 professional reference letter, and you need to upload all this stuff. If you're using an agent to do your application, you need to upload a consent form that shows that you authorize your agent to actually apply on your behalf. But trust me, you can do it all by yourself. When you're done with the application phase, Usually, you're going to get a feedback between 3 to 7 days, sometimes 3 to 10 days, and they're going to schedule you for an interview. Yes, maybe masters, you don't get interviewed. Some schools do interview for masters, but almost all schools will interview you if they're going to accept you for a PhD because they want to know how serious you are. A lot of work goes into doing a PhD, a lot of research work. They want to gauge you. They want to make sure that when you get accepted, you're not just going to be a waste of time. You just don't want, maybe you're trying to use this as a route to get to the UK, after which you're just going to ditch the studies and do other things. And if that's your plan, just banish that thought from your mind, because during your PhD there's going to be 3 check-ins. You're going to do the first check-in after 3 months, the next check-in after 6 months, the next check-in you're going to do is at the end of your research work. So if you say you're going to run to the UK and you're going to just go under the guise that you want to do a PhD, then you discard that and start working, please don't do that. The school is going to report to the home office, and before you know it, you're going to be deported, okay? Now, during your interview, usually 2 people attend the interview, your lead supervisor and the backup supervisor. They're going to ask you series of questions that have to do with what you were doing before, what you're doing now, what your work history is. If you're like me that had a different degree for bachelor's, a different master's, and a different for PhD, they are going to ask you why the discrepancy in fields. My history is actually transdisciplinarian. So I had, my first degree was a master's, my second degree was in business, my third degree was in marine and regional planning. So it's just so different. It's so different. They're going to ask you these questions. You need to be equipped, you need to be honest, and you need to be serious when you answer these questions, because you will always see them looking up, looking down, looking up, looking down, looking up. They're taking notes. All your reply, all your response are going into a form. When they're done with the interview, they're going to forward the form to the admissions department. If they're not satisfied with your response, you're going to be denied. Yes, you can be denied. They're going to ask you about funding. They're going to ask you whether you're going to pay for the 4 years at once, whether you're going to pay for 1 year at once, whether you're going to need help with your funding, and they do not offer help. That question is a trick question to get you disqualified. The UK does not offer help. There's scholarship available for certain fields, but these fields are usually IT, social sciences, and there's one more I can't remember now. Maybe I'll leave it in the description. But these are the only 3 fields that get support and by way of funding to do a PhD. It is assumed that you know the expenses, the cost of studying in the UK, and you're ready and you're prepared to come to the UK to study. So they're not going to offer you any help, and they're going to tell you as well. So if you keep asking them, I need your support, I need help, that's the way of telling them that you're not ready. They're just going to deny you admission to come to the UK to do your PhD. So if you guys want me to do a more comprehensive video on the interview phase, the interview process, please also leave it down in the description below or in the comment section below. I'm trying to make this video as short as possible. I just want to cover it, give you guys a bird's-eye view of how this whole process is going to play out so you can be ready. Now, when you're done with your interview phase, now listen, before I leave that section, please try to be comfortable. I know you're going to be nervous because most people, when they do this interview, they're always nervous, but keep breathing in, breathing out, and you should be fine. If you are really serious about doing a PhD, trust me, you're going to be able to answer all the questions, okay? Now, when you're done, you're going to get a request in your student area for your university. They're going to request you to upload certain informations. They'll want you to fill out a fee assessment form that tells them your financial history, whether you have the resources. You're going to fill that up and upload it to your student portal. They're also going to require you to pay a stipend. You will have to pay a fraction of your tuition fee, after which you're going to get an unconditional offer of admission, which you could now use to go apply for your visa. It's very simple. I think the PhD application is actually even more straightforward than your master's or your bachelor's application. But you guys just need to be ready. For the UK, all they need is literally funds. And of course, they're going to need other things by way of qualification, documentation, but they need to know that you are capable of looking after yourself by way of finances to come to the UK. So I want to believe that this video has been helpful to someone out there, particularly people who are interested in moving to the UK to study for their PhD. And yes, please, let me just say this very quickly. A PhD is the easiest route for you to actually stay back in the UK and get jobs. You could even get a job as a lecturer in the university. You could get a job with the UK Home Office, the government. There's just so many avenues and possibilities for you. And the fact that you're going to get your post-work study after your PhD, which is 3 years, it just means you can plan and do things and just get your documentation sorted, but it's quite expensive. So guys, if this video was helpful, it was meaningful to you guys in any way, why don't you go down, smash the subscribe button, turn on the notification bell, share the video, like our video, and in our next episode, I'm going to be coming out with more avenues that you can use to get to the UK that is easier, affordable, and something that will get you and your family to get there, because the laws that pertains to immigration to the UK is changing particularly for people that are coming in to study. We're going to be talking about this in our next episode. If you don't want to miss out, why don't you subscribe, like, turn on the notification bell, and share these videos with your friends. And until the next one, I remain your value-based king, Fuse. Why don't you click on that video if you're interested in learning about companies hiring, offering visa sponsorship for you to come to the UK for work. And until the next one, bye-bye for now.